Why do we wreck our own success? Why do we ghost our goals and chase chaos when we say we want peace? You sent some powerful questions, and I'm answering them all right here off the cuff. So let's get into it. We're diving into something that hits way too close to home for me, sounds like for you, today on Off the Couch. And welcome to Off the Couch, where psychology meets everyday life and change doesn't happen lying down. Brian, today we are doing questions, listener questions on self-sabotage. We talked about listener issues with love, and a lot of those were around self-sabotage, which actually caused people to ask even more questions about self-sabotage in general. So we're going to look at those patterns today, but to keep things interesting, I haven't seen the questions. I haven't read the questions. You haven't even read the questions. You haven't? I mean, you
No, I haven't. I haven't.
tied them up. But anyway, so let's go. Let's do it. But first, hey, by the way, I did, because I like to do a little quiz. Let's do a 5-question quiz to see if you are a self-sabotager. But so I don't know. This is just a little kitschy 5-question Cosmo quiz here. So what do you think? Brian Gomez, producer. Sorry, I didn't introduce you, did I?
No, it's okay. Let's just keep it rolling.
I'm Dr. Greg Case on psychologist. We have Tony on the board. Hi, Tony.
Howdy.
And is like 8 other places, so apologies for that. I'm going to be right here with you right now. So, do you self-sabotage? We're going to take this 5-question quiz and find out. So I want you to answer yes or no, Brian, Tony. Do you often procrastinate on goals that are actually important to you, even when you have time or the tools to do them? Do you pull away or create conflict when things in a relationship start to go really well?
Oh, go well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're keeping count? Have you ever talked to yourself out of an opportunity because you weren't ready, but deep down you were just scared? Do you repeat patterns that hurt you even when you know when they don't serve you anymore? Oh, does alcohol count? Do you downplay your achievements, feel like an imposter, or feel uncomfortable with praise or success? Okay. What do you think? So that's 5 questions. Wait, what did you get, Brian?
Yeah, I got 4 out of the 5.
4 out of 5. I got 3, and Tony 4.
That's me.
We sound like a self-sabotaging group. Your results 0 to 1. You're likely not self-sabotaging, but stay aware. The 2 to 3, which I could probably bleed into 4. I could probably do a little work there. Some self-sabotaging habits may be holding you back. Time to get curious. And the 4 to 5, you have an inner saboteur in the driver's seat. But don't worry, you can take the wheel, and we're going to try to do that today. So this will be personal to you guys. Good.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay, so let's start to do the questions. Brian, you're going to hit me up with some questions. Let's start to go.
All right, for the first one. Hey, Dr. Greg, I don't know if this is a self-sabotage or what, but I have this weird habit. Whenever I get close to finishing something important, like a job application or even sending an email that could lead to something big, I just stop. I suddenly feel tired, or I tell myself it's not good enough yet. Sometimes I've never even hit send. It feels like I freeze right at the edge of success. Why do I do this, and how do I break this cycle?
Okay. So when you're just about to do something, you freeze. Oh gosh. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to have to go back to this question. Let me see this question so I can just be clear on what it's saying. Okay. Because it's a long one, like a job application. Yeah. Something big. I could just stop. So this is the problem. You suddenly feel tired, or tell myself I'm not good enough at something yet. When we suddenly feel tired, is our body sort of overwhelming ourselves because we feel overwhelmed? So when that happens, we're having what is essentially an anxiety response, which is a fear response to whatever we're seeing, this job application or whatever it is they're doing in front of them is suddenly taking over, and they are probably in their mind catastrophizing something about it. like that they won't be able to handle it, they're not good enough, that they will be rejected, just any number of things. But the other thing was that they put was that sending an email something big, yeah, even sending an email, it suddenly get takes them over, or they tell themselves, "I'm not good enough yet." And you know when yet is? It's never. Because the one thing about saying I'm not good enough is you can always say that, no matter how much better you get. Venus Williams could tell herself that I'm not good enough to play Wimbledon, even though she's won several. Like she could say, oh no, she could self sabotage herself at any moment. But instead, she went back to play more tennis, which she's currently doing, which is amazing.
I feel like a lot of people do this, including myself, when it's like something like a task, something you have even for work, like an email you have to respond to a client. And I feel like a lot of the times we just stop ourselves from doing it. And as easy as it is, whenever it's like when you actually do it, it's like 10 minutes and you're like, oh, wow, I've been pushing this back for like a day or two, pretty much just to send this like 5-minute email. Do you know why we're doing that? Or like,
Well, it depends on the circumstance and what's going on. But again, I think it is the anxiety response that you're having in that moment. You're having some sort of negative picture for yourself that is causing you to think that if I send this email, it will force something that I cannot handle. So it's either the task at hand, or maybe their response, maybe it's their rejection, maybe it's that it will require so much of you when you have so little time. I think that's what I run into sometimes. I think, oh my God, I can't take on even one more task here. So that I think that those kinds of things can all play a role. So we start to hold ourselves back from doing things because we think we don't want to pile it on because we personally think we can't handle it. Now you can handle it in two ways. Like one is to say, okay, I'm just going to accept the loss on this and say I'm not able to do this, or I'm not going to apply for this job, etc. But that kind of avoidance is withdrawal. And withdrawal reinforces the negative action, which means that bottom line is that if you don't apply for jobs, you're going to not want to apply for more jobs in the future. It's going to keep you unemployed. But if you do apply for jobs and take risks like that, even that someone won't like you, won't hire you, it'll all be for nothing, it still helps you to move forward because you're taking the positive action, and you can reinforce and say, good job to the positive action. So if you can slow things down and just say, I can handle this next moment, then you can start to break through it. So if I were applying for a job on an email, that's what the person cited very specifically, I would send off my resume, and I would not worry about the interview. I would not worry about the rejection letter. I would not worry about could I make the move to Cincinnati, Ohio, where this job is. I would not worry about any of those things. I would simply take that action and then know that whatever the next action that they take, including them not even responding to me, that will dictate my next action. When that next action is something I can handle. We don't have to plan every action for the future if we have a belief that we can handle the next thing and we can just do it one step at a time.
yeah, I like how you word that one step at a time because I feel like we do often get overwhelmed with the bigger picture or like the bigger task at hand where it's like, oh, I need to do all this instead, or it's like, I just need to make this phone call and talk to this one person and that's it. Instead of like, you think, oh, they're going to ask this, this, and this, and this. And you're like, you don't know unless you've even started on it.
Yeah, I can think of so many times when I've self sabotaged myself, and I especially sabotage myself around relationships, not romantic relationships, but friendships, I think. And I've actually, I've looked at that. I've had to look at that very strongly recently. Um, that I've had people say, like very notable people in my field, very notable people, not only in my field, but in others as well, who I felt intimidated by, who said things like, we ought to hang out. You're so cool. Let's see each other socially. Let's have dinner, like at a conference or something like that. And I'm embarrassed to say that because of my own insecurity, I've said, yeah, okay. And then thought, oh, I wouldn't even know how to approach this friendship. Like, this person whose books I have, or who I've seen on TV a million times, who I've used to teach, those types of things. I'm embarrassed to admit that, but I'll just be very frank. It's a very real thing. I think a lot of people now have this bravado that they're like a king of the world and everyone loves that. People who are very dependent or don't have much self esteem look to the very narcissistic people as a source of strength. But I know the narcissistic people are just inherently insecure. And so I'm not looking to impress anyone, but I feel empathy for the people who've been in positions like me who hold themselves back. And I think that so this was a topic that was attractive to me. We just talked right beforehand and said, let's just do the self sabotage because it's attractive, because I realize I do it even to myself and I even lie to myself about doing it. Like what I just told you, you probably didn't know because I don't think I've told anyone.
No, I didn't, but I do know how you get in your head about yourself that way, that I'm always like, you've got so much credibility behind you
Mhm.
that I feel like you don't often see that. Um, with how many years you've been doing this and all the schooling, everything you've done, that I'm like, it's wild to hear that and be like, wow, you really feel that way? When I always look at you like you're up here, that I'm like, it's crazy to see you say that, But I get it because for me, it's been work wise, where I don't feel like I'm good enough or I haven't had done enough to apply for specific jobs or specific positions. It hasn't been to like this year that I actually can say that I can do so much that I was afraid of doing or even trying work wise, that I was just like, I don't know if I'm ready or have even had the experience to do it, but I just had to, I was in a position that I had no choice but to do it and be like, wow, I am doing it. And even though I thought I couldn't, it would just, yeah, it seemed unreal for me to
So
even do that.
what allowed you to push yourself over the line? What was the thing? What was the little push, the nudge that got you over the line?
Um, well, this year it was a friend of mine who actually asked me to help her work with one of her businesses, that it was like, okay, I'm just gonna help. I didn't think like I was actually gonna take on like a bigger role or be a bigger part in the company as I have been lately, where it almost feels like I'm even driving the boat at this point, where the direction the company is going. Um, but she saw the things that I could do, but I was scared or felt like I couldn't do it or didn't have the credentials behind it. So just starting with that, and then other friends and other people I know, I started doing more and more work within that field that I always did it, but never like as a, I don't know, I don't want to say actual job, but like, yeah, as fully stepping into it and like just doing it I'd always be like, oh, I'm just doing it as a side or for helping somebody.
Ah, so you just sort of willed yourself into just stepping into the role? Is that what I'm understanding or no? Did I misunderstand that completely?
No, I mean, I had no other choice. I told you, I feel like you guys know that, like, I have been trying to get back into different job fields and nothing was working for me. That at this point, I was like, dude, you got to rely on the skills you have and what you've been doing on the side that you say that you are too scared to fully jump into.
Okay. That I get. Professionally for me, I will say I was always hungry. So I would take on more than I could handle anyway, all the time. Not because even that I had a delusion that I could do things. I just wanted to do them. And I figured I'll learn. I'm a good learner. I'm a good student. Um, so I would take on big tasks. But even this podcast has been a learning process. And now we're going through this new transition, trying to develop our own studio, and we're just having nothing but fits and starts. We still have Tony, though. Hi, Tony. You're still helping us from afar. You're just not in the same room. But
Always here.
it is still tough.
You guys should see us at least every 30 minutes before the show starts. How frantic we are.
Unbelievable panic. We weren't even nailed with the top. I had prepared a little bit with the self-sabotage as a topic, but we were going to do these anyway. We just said, let's just go with this. Let's make it happen. So there you go.
Hey, we're still doing it, and we're pushing. We're doing the little steps, the baby steps.
That is behind the curtain stuff. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna do the next question. Okay.
I'll try to pay attention.
Hi, Dr. Greg. I'm in a really good relationship for the first time in a long time. No red flags, no weird power games, and honestly, it's freaking me out. I keep waiting for something to go wrong, and I've caught myself picking fights over stupid things, like the way they load the dishwasher. I'm scared I'm going to ruin this before it even gets off the ground. Why does safety feel so uncomfortable?
That's fascinating. Okay, there was a lot in this picture. So one, the person's in a great relationship, no red flags. That's really wonderful. I hope that they have an attraction to this person. That I'm assuming is there because that person didn't say anything about that. Sometimes when people generally have these dramatic relationships in the past, they then suddenly say, I'm in this totally nice, wonderful relationship, and I just don't feel as attracted. They're just not as exciting. So I hear that. But this person didn't say that, but they're doing some kind of minor things which they label self-sabotage. Although picking on somebody the way they load the dishwasher to me is not the worst thing. These kinds of little fights comprise about 2/3 of fights in relationships. Usually they revolve around something we call irresolvable conflicts. Irresolvable conflicts are the things that never really come to be. I once saw a meme a while back that there are two types of people who load a dishwasher. There are the people who do everything perfectly militaristically styled, like me, and people who look like a, a raccoon, a drunken raccoon who's just tossed all the dishes in there, which I'm not going to say who, but not me. So I will say that, sometimes you have these frustrations. Now, your choice of how you handle the frustration is key because this is an irresolvable conflict. What do I have everything lined up and beautiful and perfect in a dishwasher? How is that so meaningful to me? I have to say, you know what? The dishes still get cleaned even when they look like a baboon was tossing dishes in there from 20 feet away. Like, I don't know how things kind of land in there.
I get that, but the part that I'm like wondering, I'm like, okay, how does this person stop themselves from waiting for something to go wrong? That they're so used to like dealing with red flags and like toxic relationships or weird power games that they're constantly just kind of like waiting for that to happen.
Well, that kind of anxiety will dissipate because anxiety, when you have it and there's no reason to have it, will eventually come down. But that person also needs to know that a total normal thing to happen with anxiety, that they'll start to feel very comfortable in their relationship. And then let's say 2 years later, 5 years later, suddenly they'll have this influx of anxiety completely out of nowhere that's going to cause them to go back to their old kind of craziness. If they know that in advance that that's coming, then when it comes, they can talk it through with their partner, with their friends to go, I'm having this craziness. I'm going through this right now.
And that's for sure gonna happen. Like,
Yeah, that's called a spontaneous remission, and it happens in almost any kind of suppressed behavior. The suppressed behavior here, by the way, is that the person felt unsafe and had to try all these. They were talked about safety, right? At the end, they felt unsafe and they felt like they needed to do things. Now, if I had this person in front of me, I wish I did, I'd be like, what have you been doing in the past when you felt unsafe? My guess it's things like check their phone, read their emails, accuse them of things, follow them, those types of things we do when we feel unsafe. We're with the other person and that she or he, what did the person even say?
no,
Okay, I guess I just assumed she, so shame on me. But um, the bottom line is, this person is going to step back and say, okay, I feel unsafe feeling safe. Like I don't have anything to grab onto. So that anxiety is going to be free floating for a little while, but that's okay. I would say that's okay. I'm glad you're stretching yourself. I'm glad you're with somebody who's pretty wonderful. And if something bad does happen, as sometimes it still can, it doesn't mean you've failed. You gave this relationship a chance. So keep going forward.
Okay, I also had a question about this. Um, so the feeling that people get when they're in this situation, that's anxiety.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people don't know that that's anxiety. It's just like I feel like people call it crashing out, where they like going
Crashing out is this
crazy.
new term.
You heard of it?
Oh my God. Because it's so disturbing to me. Crashing out to me used to be falling asleep. Didn't it to you, Tony?
It was, yep.
You're
I
crashing out.
crashed.
You couldn't stay awake any
I
longer.
I crashed out. I couldn't stay awake.
Couldn't stay awake. Now all the kids have reframed crash out to I'm getting super emotional, right?
Yeah, like a crazy
I'm
spiral.
getting a crazy spiral. We just called it a crazy spiral.
That's why I was like, okay, so this is anxiety when people are feeling something like this, and
Yep.
when they're on edge or on the lookout.
Anxiety, if you want to look at it, I like it. Look at anxieties like this flame that's always, that when it goes high, it boils everything else. Like if we have a pot full of insecurity, anxiety is going to go in there and just fuel it, get it bubbling.
It's crazy. I'm learning a lot. The whole thing about like that it'll come back in 2 years or it'll pop up.
I
That's
don't know when
wild.
it'll pop up, but it will pop up. I can guarantee that. Spontaneous remission is it's pretty understandable. If we teach a child like I don't know, don't I don't know. Don't
Don't
look
touch the
on
hot stuff.
don't touch the hot stove. Oh my God, there you go. Don't touch the hot stove. Well, first of all, it's, very exciting to stare at a hot stove. I remember being a kid. But then, you've learned you touch the hot stove and you don't want to go back. That's a little bit you can do one trial learning with a hot stove, which one trial learning means you don't go back. But if there's some sort of fascination with it, perhaps, and that one trial learning doesn't really do it, then they could still come running back. And it's usually for some kind of learned behavior. And this would be probably a learned behavior because she had not so great relationships in the past. Here I'm saying she, but I'm just giving this person the benefit of the doubt. Not so great relationships in the past. And then has this really great relationship now. So that to me is learned. Like he learned this was the pattern.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna do the next
Yeah.
question.
And those are subject to learned things are subject to spontaneous remission of old behaviors. That's the same in alcohol, by the way, or drug addiction or anything like that. People will say, "Oh, that drug addiction treatment didn't work because the person relapsed." I'm like, that's no proof whatsoever the drug addiction treatment didn't work. It just meant that they stopped using. Maybe the drug addiction treatment was really helpful in that process. We don't know. You could go back and look, but their relapse is not necessarily due to anything to do with the addiction treatment.
That's so wild because when you hear about people relapsing, you feel like, oh, because something happened in their life or something threw them off. But like, I never thought about it like that way, where you hear about people with addictions or alcoholism that they stay in those support programs all their lives.
You know what? This is a little detour, but I did research on this when I was at the VA. When I worked for UCLA and the VA, they were combined during research. And we looked at every available addiction treatment to see which one was most superior. And do you know what we discovered?
Okay.
No,
Oh,
nothing.
nothing.
That they're all equally effective. But there was one this is what really tripped me out. There was one factor that meant that you were going to be, um, you're going to recover. And do you know what that is? Just one factor:
Was it staying in the program?
staying in the program. That's why AA works. That's why it works, because you can stay in the program your whole life. These people that fool themselves that they're going to go for a 30-day treatment and everything will be fixed are fooling themselves. They're very much subject, because that dynamic I talked about, spontaneous remission's a very real thing. And we even talk about in things like stimulant treatment, that's cocaine, methamphetamine, crack, ice, whatever, all those things. You and Ritalin, that there is a wall that people hit. So they think they're okay stopping, and then it could be a few weeks later, it could be a few months later, they suddenly feel like they hit a wall where they have to use the drug. And getting them through that hump, that's the spontaneous remission, by the way. Getting them through that hump is extremely difficult. And that's where something like an AA or other long term treatment program is going to be helpful.
Damn. Thank you for all that information because I just learned so much from that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, okay. We'll do the next question. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Dr. Greg, I have a pattern I'm embarrassed to admit. I always wait till the last possible minute to start things I care about. Deadlines, creative projects, even planning trips. Then I scramble, I stress myself out, and tell people, oh, I just work better under pressure. But honestly, I think I'm just scared of trying my best and still not being good enough. Is that a form of self sabotage?
Yeah. Yes. And in fact, that's you generally, that pattern where the person is holding off till the last minute to dive in is due to something very specific which sabotages us, which is called perfectionism. So I was guilty of this in school. Um, Anytime we delay doing something, it's because we're putting off the pain of doing it. Sometimes the pain of doing it is thinking that we're going to, um, we won't, we'll be too questioning of ourselves early on. So if I'm in school and I'm working on a paper, um, if I start it 2 months beforehand, as opposed to thinking, this is great, I'll get this paper done early and then I'll have, the rest of the semester free. I could think, oh my God, I have 2 months and I'm going to have to be thinking about this paper for the next 2 months. And I'm going to keep questioning what I'm saying and doing in this paper for the next 2 months. So we often put off the pain of whatever it is, just diving in and doing the work, of having the things sit with us, of questioning of ourselves, whatever that kind of pain that we're anticipating is. We put that off to the future because we know that in the future, and we know, I'm saying in quotes, we know that we'll be better then. We won't be as tired. We won't be as stressed. And we also know that when the end, when there's only 12 hours left, let's say, then we don't question things as much. We push harder and we still might get a decent grade. So then we fool ourselves. That's due to that reinforcement. We fool ourselves into thinking, if I wait till the last minute, I'll do a great job. No, you waited till the last minute. You did a good job. Probably you would have done about the same job anyway. There's no way to test it at that point. But what you did do is you put away all your insecurity, because now your insecurity doesn't have time for the 12-hour time limit that's in front of you. Like, your insecurity just has to sit by the wayside. It has to sit by the side of the road while you forge ahead on this paper and get it done in time.
Dang, that makes so much sense. I'm just thinking of like times where I've been at like FedEx office at 2 in the morning. There's been like a 24-hour one, and I'm like printing, cutting, pasting everything right before like the morning that it's due. So I'm like, dang, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And how can we fix that, or how can we work on that?
Start it.
Just start it.
So, yeah, perfectionism is, you have to be willing to fail. I work with a lot of writers who run into this. Perfectionism is also behind writer's block. And it's behind a lot of things. Like, we could look at any kind of highly creative person, they still suffer from perfectionism, especially if they're kind of a victim of their previous success. Sometimes that even takes a toll. So they're thinking, I don't know that I can do something as good as that when I have this. This is where narcissism really comes in handy because you can overcome these things more easily. But the person who's more neurotic, which a lot of writers are, I hate to say it, more in that range, they can be very much thinking, this has to be perfect. I wrote a book that was a hit. This one has to be a hit now. How do I do that? So they're going to start going through some of those perfectionistic mind loops, and they're starting to think about those things. And then they may even develop writer's block where they don't know what to write because they can't think of the perfect thing to write. So what I do with them, this is kind of a fun little task that I do, which is open up. I say if you get two computers, it's great. But if you don't, then just put two Word documents up on the screen. On one Word document, you can do your writing, whatever you're writing about. The other Word document, just whatever your thoughts are. And then you determine a pre-amount to write. So let's say 1 hour. And you have to spend the entire hour writing. But if you can't think of what to write on your, the book assignment page, then you're going to be spending the entire hour writing on the other Word document that's just your random thoughts. And your random thoughts, and I've done this myself many times when I've run into these things, the random thoughts are, I have no idea what to write. I feel like I'm going to fail. Like this, whatever it is, you go through those types of things. This has now been proven in research to work rather well. We actually had people who had difficulty with the bar exam because of anxiety. So what they did a research study, and they had people who were taking the bar exam who had previously failed, who had a lot of difficulties. And they did this they did a controlled study, but they had some of them spend the half hour before the bar exam just writing down all their insecurities about the bar exam. Literally, instead of studying, just writing down their insecurities. What that did is it cleared up their mind to be able to take the bar exam, and their pass rates were higher than the group that didn't do it. Which is interesting. Great.
That's insane, but does that work with, like, anything? Like, because I feel like we all kinda go through that, and instead of waiting last minute to feel that pressure and not have the time to worry about it, like, could that be applied for anything that we're working on? Like, if we're feeling like like, we're getting in our own way of starting it or something, is it okay to start that? Like, the list of everything we're feeling or thinking?
Well, when we're starting a task, especially a big task, we want to break it down into little chunks. And then you select how you're going to approach those chunks. You're either going to do like an individual task till it's done, or you're going to work on the project for an amount of time till it's done. So if you are working on something that has an amount of time, you could do the writing task like we just outlined. You could say, okay, if I can't, even if it's like I'm going to go fix the plumbing, you could go and do that, I guess. Um, I did a version of this in my graduate school when I made kind of forced myself that if I wasn't going to work on my dissertation, I had to be cleaning my apartment. I couldn't do anything else, and I had a spotless apartment. Let me tell you, I was impressed with myself. Spotless, never again. But that's what I really did, is to kind of force the issue because I hated cleaning so much. If you enjoy cleaning, that task probably won't work well for you, but maybe the writing one will. But the what you're doing is you're just trying to figure out what to do. If you have an individual task, I approach it a little bit differently. That if you have an individual task to do, if you're really overwhelmed by it, then take it down. Like take it down to nothing. Like if my individual task is I'm supposed to read a book, maybe I can read one chapter. If I can't read one chapter, maybe I can read one page. If I can't read one page, maybe I can move the book from the bookshelf to the table in front of me.
Okay, so
You can
any
do
little thing.
something
Okay.
to start the action.
I think that's cool advice, and I'm gonna start trying that. Even in the writing one, I'm like, oh, that sounds like a fun way to kind of. I mean, nobody I think else really wants to self-sabotage themselves, right?
Nobody wants to. We just end up doing it because we're afraid.
Got it. So fear seems to be like the big thing knocking us off from
Fear is
your.
always the big thing knocking us off. Fear is the thing that separates us from other people. Fear is the thing that holds us down. Fear is the very thing that keeps us being fully who we are. And the opposite of fear, we could say, is love. But really, to me, it's love with other people. It's connection to the universe. It's connection to other people. That will lift us up. That will make us feel fearless.
Okay. I'm gonna read the next question for you. Hi, Greg. So I've noticed this thing I do. When I finally start to feel confident or get positive attention, like I lose weight or get praised at work, I immediately start the opposite.
Mm.
Start doing the opposite. I binge eat or I stop showing up on time. It's like the better I feel, the more I need to punish myself. Does that make any sense? Is that self-sabotage or is that some deep shame I haven't dealt with?
I don't know about the shame. I'd be interested to ask that person why they came up with deep shame there. Because maybe they do feel ashamed about who they are. Losing weight and a promotion at work also are different things. So there's a lot going on with this person. Um, I'll tell you, it is fairly common for someone when people with eating disorders, it can be very tricky to give somebody a compliment because sometimes giving a compliment can can play a lot of different ways in the person's head. So you could say, "Oh, you lost weight," and they could be like going, "Oh, they're trying to sabotage me. I really need to lose more weight." They're actually just trying to make me feel secure when there's really a problem here. I mean, it can go like that. So it's a tricky thing. I think you have to kind of take guidance from the other person. But what this person is doing clearly is self sabotage if she's eating when someone says, "Oh, you've lost weight. You look great." And then she's going and eating because what is it about when they say that they're noticing her? And maybe that's the shame that they're noticing her body, maybe. And that's why I would like to know more about the shame because I think that was a key word that landed in there.
And it would make sense for work too, because they're noticing them there as well, right? If they're getting praised at work.
Exactly. So maybe being noticed is part of the problem. Maybe being noticed is the scary thing. I don't know. But if it's shame, that probably is the case. So this person I would want to be a little more gentle with in the sense um, uh, that there may be a lot more than the self-sabotage may be more protective here of her own, something else going on. And maybe it is being noticed and maybe that meant danger in the past.
And that's what I keep thinking about how, like, we've had this conversation where a lot of people with, like, eating disorders have gone through sexual traumas
Mhm.
when they were younger, so that's part of, like, the cycle of it. That I mean, that seems like this could be something like that. It's just really sad for people to have to deal with that in those types of ways.
It is sad, yeah.
And also, like, so if you see one of your friends kind of losing weight, because I feel like it happened, like, and like you said, it's kind of like a sensitive topic. Like, is there a way, or is it just better to like not even say anything whenever you notice? Because you'll notice if your friends or somebody you know has lost weight, and you want to be like, oh my God, like you look great, but then you know sometimes that's not the best thing to say.
I would say it. Say your honest reaction. Be honest. Don't try to game it out or be untruthful. Say your honest reaction. But look to how they react. And say, and then if they react in a negative way or they try to push away the compliment or they do something, then you start to get more information about something else going on as opposed to them just saying thanks, which is, you know, all they need to say.
Perfect. For the next question. Hey, Dr. Greg, love the podcast. Here's my situation.
Thank you.
I'm great at giving advice, supporting others, and even talking about boundaries and mental health. But when it comes to actually taking care of myself, I blow it. I say yes to things I don't have time for. I take on too much and then I crash. Why is it so hard to apply what I know to my own life? Am I sabotaging myself with people pleasing? I think you're the best person to answer this.
Did I write this?
It sounds like you. I mean, it does sound like you would say that love the podcast.
I I don't know about that. Go back and reread the question. The bottom line is that kind of tripped me out because it does sound a lot like me. So let's go pick it apart. Read the first sentence, not the love the pie. I mean, that you can read all you want. But
I'm great at giving advice, supporting others, and talking about boundaries and mental health. So they
okay.
know everything. They know all the spiel.
I don't do any of that stuff, do I? Except here.
I mean, this is your profession, so you do all this.
It's like casual world.
No.
You got to mind your boundaries. I'm like,
No.
going, yeah, whatever in the forum. So,
And then it says when it comes to actually taking care of myself, I blow it. They say yes to things that they don't have time for, which sounds like you. Take on too much and then crash. Why is it so hard to apply all the things I know to my own life?
yeah. Why is that hard?
Why is it so hard?
I think for me, like, because I talked about that hunger about wanting to achieve things and wanting to dive in and experience life and experience things, that hunger has fueled me, but it also leads me to make bad decisions. In the sense, much like a drug addict, I'm not going to say I'm addicted to work, but I can say that work um, is a comfort zone of mine in that I enjoy going toward it. Even when I'm feeling especially bad, I don't mind working because helping other people actually helps me feel better, um, frankly, and that's okay. Um, but I do, and I have taken on too much, and it's always been in the service of this seems super cool. I want to do this. I want to do that. I did this in high school when I joined too many clubs, and I had all these. I was on student council and yearbook. I was yearbook editor in chief, and I was in student body and all this stuff. I mean, there were so many things I did in school, and I was so busy, plus trying to take my classes and apply for colleges. And I had a part-time job the whole time. So I was so super busy, and I still felt like I was deprived, like I wanted more. That we didn't have the concept of fear of missing out, but I think I kind of had that in the sense that I didn't fear I was missing out, but I really wanted to be like diving into everything. So that I called it hunger because that's what it felt like to me. Like I was always hungry for more, was very present, but it did cause me to overwhelm myself. I think I didn't learn early on how to balance things. Um, and we could look at all the reasons for that, but it has plagued me, and I do try more. I can't say that I'm perfect. I'm not. And I don't try to be preachy with somebody else about boundaries because I have issues sometimes. I'm not preachy ever about anything that I personally have a struggle with.
And
So
I personally know that because you've never even tried to tell me anything or to do something, so I appreciate that.
well, I appreciate that. But I'm always surprised when people, I've been going through a really tough time recently is because of death of a family member. And people, my friends around me keep trying to solve it. And I'm like, please, there is no solution. Like I'm feeling very sad, they want to solve that. I'm feeling very angry, they want to solve that. I'm feeling this, want to, don't solve it. And I like just let me be. Let me be. And cuz I know what this process is and I just need to get through it. Even sometimes I'm going to need to know that, I have no idea what's going on because it's just really a tough road.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that. I am trying to fix or anything you've been going through too. I'm always like, oh, we need to find you a cat just to make you happy or something. It's just so if anybody out there listening, Greg needs a cat. ASAP. But I am guilty of trying to fix it. Like, I guess hearing that just makes it easier. Like, okay, I just need to let you go through it.
Yeah, because I'm not overwhelmed by what's going on for me, but rather I'm, upset. And I wish I weren't. I wish I weren't feeling these things, but it's just what I'm feeling. And I don't blame anyone. When you have a death of someone, there's no one to blame. I could get mad at this person in the hospital or this service provider or that thing or that, thing. But the reality is, this is what was happening. This just happened. And when you step back and take a look at the big picture, this just happened. And there is no going back. That's one thing about death. You don't reverse it.
And when you said that, like, there's nothing you can blame it on or no one, that doesn't seem more infuriating, kind of, that, like, there's nothing. Like, I wish if I was in that situation, I wish there was something I could blame it on. That I guess in my head, that would make me feel a little better or something. But the fact that there's nothing I can scream at or like blame,
I could be screaming at everybody in my life, but I realize they don't have anything to do with it either. But it's not that I don't feel super impatient, even with the people I love the very most, my own, parents. I've lost patience with, and they suffered the loss as much as I did. It was my brother, if anyone's wondering. So that's two, my brother and sister in 6 months. So these were big things. So anyway, all that to say, what do? You just, I know this process. I know I just have to get through it. Actually, the most helpful things people have done is to like bring over some food, tell me a joke, hang out. Like those have been the most helpful things. Like don't try to do anything grand except be there.
yeah, and I feel like everybody has their own way of dealing with it. I had this audiobook that talks about it. There is no right way of grieving. Like
No,
that is not a real thing. Like there's nobody that could tell you what steps, what you should be feeling, what like everybody does it their own special way.
that is true. That is true. Brian, we're like we've got maybe room for one more. What do you
One or
think?
two more, and I think we should
Okay.
be done. Okay. Oh, let's do this one because I feel like I go through this a lot.
Oh,
I've noticed that every time I'm close to finishing a project, something that could actually move me forward, I suddenly lose motivation or convince myself it's not good enough. Why do I keep backing away from the finish line? I've done this with multiple things, and I feel like you've seen me do
yeah, I
this.
even called this out. Yeah, because I see you start a project in an excited way, and then you peter out. Like, and I think part of the peter out. Now I don't know, but what do you think? What let me ask you very quickly. What do you think is happening at the moment you stop? And that's sometimes hard to figure out because
No, I know it.
what is it?
Because I get scared that I'm not like it's going well and I can see it moving forward and have the possibility to like do really well. And then right before I take that next step, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it will. I second guess myself and then I'm like, okay, this isn't gonna come like I go into like this is not like I'll look at it in the future and be like, this is how it's gonna fail. Or it's not gonna be good enough.
So yeah, if we were working together like in a therapy way, I would want to kind of sit there with that's what we call the growth edge. That's the thing that's kind of holding you back that moment. And to try to expand that to be able to take the next step. We don't have to complete the whole project, but what is the next step to push to the next behavior? I see. Is there some emotion coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like it saddens me because I've seen the things that I've worked on and that have been like right then and there. Or like I even had this t-shirt company and I was like, I did the website, I did the socials, I even gifted stuff, I sent stuff out and everything. And then I was like, oh, now I got too nervous and for the next step, but it was just I did it myself.
The the next steps are actually the hardest. Starting something is very hard. Maybe you're 5 years in and once you got the groundwork going, that can be easier. But the middle part, it's very, very hard because it's a lot of difficult work. That's like with our studio thing. I'm like, let's keep pushing, let's keep pushing, let's keep pushing. Even though we just have all these problems. Like we have all these problems going on. We were managing to, bring this to you, but we're going to continue to improve it. But but what this is too is a willingness to fail, and this is something I work on people with. We talk about, oh, fear of success or da da da. I think failure is something we have to be willing to do because people think failing is the end. Failing is really only a moment in time. When you fail, it's like you fall down. It's your choice then whether to get back up again and how soon to get back up again. But when you fail, it hurts and it's embarrassing. It's like when you're on a sidewalk and you're walking along and everyone's looking at you, you're looking great, maybe have ice cream in your hand and you're just feeling so good about yourself and you hit that crack in the sidewalk and you go flying 2 feet in front of you and smack on the ground, your ice cream smack, and nobody rushes to your aid. Everyone just looks at you in a horrified way. And you just imagine everyone laughing at you, people taking pictures for their Instagram. And then what do you do in that moment? Do you stay down there and go, oh, woe is me, Or do you go, you know what? Oh, well, happens to everyone, as failing does. And then you get back up, brush yourself off, and keep moving.
I mean, that's all you can do, right?
It's all you can do. Well, you could sue the sidewalk.
I would have sued a lot of sidewalks, actually. That happens to me quite often.
That's a universal.
But I think we should wrap up because we're almost out of time.
Well, that was good, Brian. Thank you so much. Those were actually kind of helpful.
I learned a lot.
Yeah, thank you. It was an interesting one to do. I actually wrote down some practical tips for self-sabotage. I don't know if we did any of these really, but I'm going to name them and go ahead and put these on a handout and work on this. So this will be part of the podcast in our YouTube show notes. There'll be a link to the handout and a downloadable link. And so it'll have some of these and I'll put a quiz on there. We'll get it together. So here's number one is to name the pattern. To name the pattern like this is self-sabotage. This is what I'm doing. I'm getting in my own way. And once you do that, you kind of can narrow it down and try to pick it apart and go at it a little bit more easily. When you self-sabotage, you probably need to dial it down to something you can handle in that moment. Number two, ask yourself what you're really afraid of. I mean, it isn't, I hate it when people say, oh, I'm lazy, because I usually don't think they're being lazy. It's usually something else going on. I, in fact, feel lazy quite a bit, and it's a lovely feeling. But it doesn't account for they're not doing a particular task. That usually is due to the fear of doing that task. Is it the fear of failing, as we talked about? Is what would success mean? Would that mean too many tasks in the future? They become overwhelmed. What's going on? Is it being seen like that one person we talked about? This is a big one I harp on a lot, is to set micro goals that you can get immediate wins and reward yourself, pat on the back. Self-sabotage thrives on being overwhelmed. When we're overwhelmed, that's when self-sabotage is at its best. So, break it down into the smallest piece, shrink it down. Just do one bad paragraph when you're writing. Just take the book off the shelf. Like I said, just take it off the shelf. Like that one little task is more than you were doing before.
It's a win.
It's a win. And you can go, wow, I took it off the shelf and I put it on my desk. Whoo, that's down. Now, next task, open the book. Yeah, maybe tomorrow's open the book. Maybe, the next day is read the title.
Well, that's how you mentioned about how when you used to work and you would work out before and everything, you would just start by even going to shower and then little next step, baby steps.
That is the most embarrassing thing. And I've told that story many times because I think it reflects something called behavioral chaining. So it is based in something, but where I basically wasn't failing at working out. So I knew I needed to develop a complex chain of behaviors. That's basically it. So I started with the first, which was actually it was putting out my clothes the night before.
Oh, wow.
That was number one, like the workout clothes. Number two was then I started to put the clothes in a bag and take the bag to my car. So I would do that, put the clothes, put the bag to my car. And once I'd mastered that, which was very easy, then I would drive to the gym every day and I would try to buffer in the time I needed to work out and would get to work extra early then those days because I wasn't working out. I was just going to the gym early. They were very happy. And I kept building that behavior with further and further successes until I finally had developed going to the gym for an hour a day. How about that?
Amazing tip.
Yeah. And number four is self-compassion, not self-punishment. I preach that so much, but yeah, feeling okay about yourself as a human being. Number five is catch the pattern and change the ending. That gets back to just understanding your own behavioral loop that you go into. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you talked about just saying what you're feeling out loud. Like that's why I even asked you about whenever the person was like or crashing out. I was like, is that called anxiety? Like, because sometimes you don't know, you just feeling this feeling and you're like feeling like you're spiraling, but you
Somebody
don't know.
doesn't know their feelings. That's a basic task in therapy. Name your feelings. That is actually really important to do. They need to be able to name their feelings. That gives them information that will help them perform better in the world. That little thing.
But I don't think a lot of people know that, or not everybody's in therapy, you know? Yeah.
There we go. That's my that's a huge tip for the day. Okay, in today's episode, if that made you say that's me, that's good because as you hear it, I think that was what I saw myself as.
Same.
Brian saw himself. So self sabotage really isn't a flaw, it's just part of the human condition. We all get into this. So we all can get out of it too. And if we do this together and support each other, that's going to be much easier. If today's question and answer format worked for you, please send us more questions. We're going to try to put these together and do more of these. It's a lot of fun for me because I feel like it's a little bit of a game.
And I
But
learn a lot from this, so.
yeah, so I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. Until next time, stay kind to yourself. To go looking for the handout in the show notes. Um, and when we if you enjoyed this session, I'm like, what did I write here? If you enjoyed this session, send it to a friend. That would really be great. This session, I said,
It
wow,
felt like therapy,
speaking
so.
therapy, speak. If you enjoyed this podcast. Also, this wraps up the show for today. This is Off the Couch with Dr. Greg. Catch us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Links to the studies on the show notes, YouTube page, youtube.com/Dr. Greg. I don't have any studies, but you know what? I'm going to find some on self. I will. And we're going to put that relationship quiz in the handout. We haven't done any of this yet, but we will.
Oh, the study about the bar. The bar, how they
I will
for that.
try to look for that study. Yeah. I know these studies, but then I don't. I have to go look for it, but I can probably find that one. Until next time, keep questioning the patterns. Don't settle for chemistry when you deserve more. Like just don't just follow your feelings. Really try to think more about how you're going to live in this world. Hit us up on socials at Ask Dr. Greg. This is Dr. Greg, Brian, and also Tony. Tony, we didn't even hear from you. I'm so sorry. Did we sabotage your performance today?
I had such big hopes. No, it was good. I really resonated with this topic today, so appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you being there. Thank you. So until next time, be present, be flexible, and be kind.